Hi there, it's Kristen once again. In this week's story, we're talking about how Jesus heals. And it's a timely topic given the pandemic and our recent worry about health and how to stay well and how to get well and what it's going to take. And there's some important elements that come up surrounding the idea of healing. But it's also a topic that gives us some great stories about Jesus, some great reminders that he ultimately will always heal, even if not physically, and some great crafts. So, there are several fun crafts that we can do that have to do with healing. For example, there are a multitude of crafts that have to do with band-aids, and we're actually going to make one today. We're going to make a helping heart craft, and we're going to make a helping hands craft to remind us that Jesus heals us, and we can reach out and care for one another as well. Now, you could also make a mini first aid kit along these same lines, and that can be a fun one to give away and share with someone else. But for today's purposes, we're going to start with our Band-Aid craft. So this one is pretty simple, and in light of upcoming Valentine's Day, it could even turn into a little bit of a Valentine. So we're going to make a bit of a card, and we're going to place a heart on the card. We're going to place a Band-Aid on the heart to remind us that Jesus heals our hearts. So we're going to start off by making our heart. Now, this is Valentine's card making 101. If you have never made a heart before, observe carefully. So we're going to start by folding a piece of paper. And if you would like to, you may draw yourself a little line first, or you can just freehand it if you're very confident in your heart cutting abilities. That's estimating. Now, we're going to cut around this kind of halfway ice cream cone looking thing. And voila, we have a heart. Now, our next step is we're going to glue or tape this heart onto another piece of paper. You don't have to do it this way. This is just one example of something that you can do. And now is the fun part. Now, if you want to get real creative, you could also take this heart and you could tear it slightly and place the Band-Aid over the tear to remind you that Jesus heals our hearts. That's one idea. Another idea is to take your Band-Aids and turn them into a cross. So maybe you have a longer Band-Aid and a shorter Band-Aid, and we're going to place those Band-Aids. Now, we don't need glue for this part because conveniently, Band-Aids are sticky. At least they should be sticky. So we're going to place our Band-Aids in a strategic cross shape. Once again, you do not have to place your Band-Aids in a strategic cross shape. You can opt to merely stick your Band-Aids elsewhere. Now, if you are nervous about wasting Band-Aids or you have some sort of a Band-Aid shortage, you could always draw the Band-Aids on, but it's kind of fun to put them on, and it's also fun for kids because kids love sticking things. This is like a giant sticker with some built-in fine motor skills because you have to get all these little itty-bitty pieces off. And then you can have a contest to see who picks up all the trash the fastest. So we have our heart, we have our Band-Aids. Again, you want to throw on an extra Band-Aid there just for fun? Go for it. You want to get some really cool, wild and crazy colors for your Band-Aids? That's an option too. Go to town, have fun with it, and then we're going to write on our card. So this is going to be something like Jesus heals our hearts. You could say, if you're going to give this away as a card, he cares for you. And I do too. You can put some extra stickers on there. You can put a Bible verse. Lots of options there. And then if you would like to, you could even turn this into a little magnet by putting a magnet on the back. Or you could even turn it into something that you could hang up if you pop a couple of hole punches in there and put some handy dandy string or ribbon on it. You can do that as well. So plenty of options for your presentation and usage of this lovely Healing Hearts card. Now our next craft also involves healing, and this also involves the element of remembering that we are called to be healers in a sense too. Obviously, we're not going to go cure people, even if we're doctors. It's a little bit different, but we are called to take care of people and love people. So we're going to brainstorm some ways that we can do that, ways that we can reach out and care for others. And we're also going to make a craft to hang and remind us of that in the process. So you're going to need a handy dandy paper plate. Couldn't get away with craft day without paper plates, right? And you're going to need some handy dandy paper. And you're going to need your scissors, markers, adhesive materials, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to trace our hands and we're going to make a little hand wreath on this paper plate. So the first step is going to be we're going to trace a hand, or trace a kid's hand, of course, and it's a simple enough job that you're going to take a piece of paper, plop that hand down, and merely, you may want to do this in pencil so you don't wind up with wonderful ink rubbings all over your hands, though sometimes kids want lovely ink rubbings all over their hands, so that could work too. Now, there's my wonderful, fabulous hand and my wonderful, fabulous ink rubbings. Now, here's a little tip. Since we're going to be making multiple hands, I recommend stacking your paper up. That way, you have a little bit less to cut out, because you don't have to cut 5 hands. If you cut, well, maybe 3 or 4, the more paper you stack, the more difficult it can be to cut. But you're going to cut out those hands, and you can do them all the same color. You can do 2 different colors. You can do 5 different colors, whatever you like to do. Now, the idea is, after we cut out these hands, as we're discussing ways that we can care for others, on these hands, you're going to be writing down reminder ways that we can care for other people. So it might be something like give someone a hug, write a card, say something nice. You can also write down specific people that you're wanting to care for. Then what we're going to do is we're going to place these hands on our paper plate to make our little wreath. So, see, hands are so great for crafts. You can make turkeys, you can make palm branches. There's a lot you can do with hands. It's very hands-on activity, I would say. Anyways, so here's our plate. Now, a couple of ways to do this. You can choose to cut out the center of the plate if you like, and just have this be kind of the border for your wreath, or you can strategically arrange your hands around the plate like so, and then you can have your little caption in the middle of why these random hands are sticking out there. Now, I think I may actually need to do one more hand. So, oh dear, I have a finger that's partially chopped off. That won't do it all. Anyway, so let's do one more hand. And then we will write on them. And then at the end of the day, once you have written on your hands, cut them out, glued them on, we're going to have a little decoration to be a reminder to use our helping hands to serve God and love one another. Now, I recommend writing on the hands prior to gluing them to the plate, as that just makes it easier to write once they're glued on. Sometimes it's harder to mark things down. So anyway, so here's we'll go through this kind of quickly for the sake of time. So we're going to help kids come up with ways that they can be helpful. So one of them is to pray. So maybe they want to come up with praying for others. That shows that they care. Maybe you're going to come up with write a happy letter. Maybe you're going to say something kind. Maybe you're going to give someone a hug. We're going to say, give mom a hug, because, 6 feet if you're not a family member. Or dad, or Uncle Joe, or Aunt Susie, or whatever. And one more way that we can show that we care for someone, you could just say a generic helps someone out. Now then, once again, we're going to write in the center of the plate to remind us of what these hands are for. Jesus cares for me. My hands can help others. And again, you don't have to do that exact caption. You can write whatever you'd like to write. You can add a caption as well. And then we're going to glue these hands down and just kind of place them around. Or you could also use tape. If you're in a hurry, tape is going to work because you don't have to wait for it to dry. But do whatever you want to do. Clearly, these hands don't want to stick. And then you can take a hole punch after you've given up on the glue and taped it down, and you can hole punch the top of it so that, if you would like to, you can hang this. And remember what we talked about, how Jesus healed and how we can show we care through our words and actions. And we can care for those around us. So here's our little hanging up device. And there you have 2 big thumb delightful hands-on craft activities that you can use to remember that Jesus heals our hearts, Jesus cares for us, and we can care for others as well. So again, these are simply ideas, jumping off points for you. Feel free to make it your own, take it for your own, do what you prefer with it, have fun, adjust to the needs of your group, your audience, and your time constraints, as well as your materials. And come back next time for more activities and crafts. Every week we have new posts, new messages, and craft ideas. So we hope you'll join us again. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. Have a great week. Go make some crafts, make some disciples.